I'm Kendra Cook. The Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news, and Dolores County Broadcasting Network provides the support for DCTV.
Here at the News at Noon show, we assemble the best and most interesting news from the area, and Jerry Tope brings you the local weather and related news. Give us a call with news tips or topics you'd like to see covered. The number is 677-4119.
We're glad you tuned in to watch DCTV. Today's show is live on Tuesday at noon and rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m. and again re-aired on Friday at noon, 3 and 6.
Coming up, another Durango suicide, Mankastown changes, and their arts district, and more.
And also hospital budgeting, food poisoning report with weather, the sheriff's report, and area happenings. Today is May 2nd, 2017, and now the news at noon. According to the Durango Herald, a 22-year-old Durango woman was found dead Sunday from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound, according to La Plata County Sheriff's Office spokesman Dan Bender. Around 3 p.m., sheriff's deputies responded to a home near the 2200 block of County Road 510 after a family member called authorities to report Savannah Gellis may be suicidal. Deputies found Gellis with a gunshot wound to the head and a handgun next to her. They tried unsuccessfully to revive Gellis, and when emergency medical personnel arrived, she was pronounced dead. Bender said Gellis was alone at the time of the incident. La Plata County Coroner Jan Smith said Monday that Gellis's death will be ruled a suicide. Gellis was local to the Durango area. According to the Durango Herald Archives, she attended Bayfield High School and was a member of the cheerleading squad. She also previously worked at Old Timers Cafe, W.J. Doyle Wine and Spirits, and Community Banks of Colorado. Ashley Blackmore, a friend who set up an online memorial fund for the Gellis family, said Gellis's death was unexpected. She was just a super funny, outgoing person, Blackmore said. It was totally unexpected. We don't really know. It's devastating for the whole family. Blackmore said a fund will be set up at the Community Banks of Colorado, but in the meantime, donations can be made online at youcaring.com/GellisFamily-813580. Gellis's death marks the 8th suicide this year in La Plata County.
According to the Durango Herald, lawmakers continue to struggle to find a compromise that would spare Colorado's hospitals from the budgetary chopping block. Negotiations on Senate Bill 267, which contains a number of provisions aimed at sustaining rural Colorado, including the reclassification of hospital provider fee as an enterprise, took a leap forward Monday when Senator Jerry Sonnenberg, Republican of Sterling, and sponsor of the bill, told the media a compromise had been struck. But in the middle of his announcement, a note arrived from Democrat leadership saying that the deal was off. Colorado's hospitals could lose $264 million in federal matching revenue under the state's budget. The deal in the works since before this session began includes provisions to bond for $2 million for transportation and other construction, a $25,000 property tax credit for small businesses, $30 million in funding for rural schools over 3 years, and $33 million for the K-12 Reserve Fund and the reclassification of the provider fee. Hospitals pay the fee to the state government, and then it is matched by the federal government and redistributed to subsidize care of individuals on Medicaid or without insurance. When it is paid back, it uses a formula which generally favors rural hospitals. The 3 hospitals in southwest Colorado which benefit from the fee, Animas Surgical Hospital, Mercy Regional Medical Center, and Southwest Memorial Hospital in Cortez, are anticipating cumulative cuts of roughly $4 million for the 2017-18 fiscal year. The fee was cut during the budget balancing process because the funds it accumulates, but both the federal matching dollars and the money from the hospitals count toward the revenue limit established by the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, even though they pass directly through the state to healthcare providers.
According to the Cortez Journal, 3 town residents demanded more details about the resignation of Town Administrator Andrea Phillips at a Board of Trustees meeting April 26 in Mancos, but Mayor Queenie Bars announced that board members would not comment. Resident Holly Rankin, who also worked with the town as a building inspector and tree board member, said the board owed voters more of an explanation. She said it would be difficult to find a competent replacement for Phillips. Phillips resigned on April 17th after 4 years in the position. Her contract had been up for renewal in April. Town Clerk Treasurer Heather Alvarez was appointed as interim administrator at an emergency meeting April 19th. Resident Jim Justice, who worked with Phillips as a member of the town's design review board, said he worried that town residents were not on the same page as the Board of Trustees. Jennifer Guy said Phillips was doing a good job and related well with people in the town. She asked why the board's wishes were not compatible with Phillips's managerial style. During the meeting, Bars said she appreciated the comments, but the board would not comment on a personnel matter. After the meeting and in a phone call on April 27th, Bars told the Journal that the board wanted to take some time to look at the state of the town. She said board members wanted to consider what the town had accomplished and then come up with ideas on how to move forward. Bars said board members discussed the town's comprehensive plan at their annual board retreat in July. Created in 2011, the plan was based on an 18-month community outreach effort that placed emphasis on diversity, safety, affordability, outdoor recreation, the arts, local economic opportunities, a clean environment, and high-quality education, according to the town's website. The board wants to make sure the plan is compatible for where the town needs to be now and in the future. Bars said that the board will probably wait until several major infrastructure projects, such as the Beach Street Crosswalk and Main Street Bridge, are finished before looking at the town's finances and considering new ideas. After the April 26 meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Fred Brooks echoed Bars' comments, saying the town had many projects on its plate right now.
According to the Cortez Journal, the annual decision on how much state funding school districts will get for each pupil is eagerly awaited as they prepare their budgets. But this year, an amendment to the School Finance Act has added a complication to the distribution formula. On Thursday, the Senate Education Committee passed Senate Bill 296, which would establish the per-pupil funding for K-12 at $6,546.20. The vote was 4-3 with Democrats opposing. The Democrats voted against the measure because of an amendment that would require districts to equally distribute funds to traditional schools and charter schools in their jurisdiction. SB 296 is known as the School Finance Act and is one of the few must-pass pieces of legislation that comes before the General Assembly every year. The amendment is the exact copy of a bill passed by the Senate earlier this session, Senate Bill 61, which has languished in the House without a committee assignment. Senator Owen Hill, Republican of Colorado Springs and sponsor of SB 61, said he amended the School Finance Act to ensure the conversation about how charter schools are funded was taken up in the House. The Senate GOP wants to address what it sees as an inequity in the current funding formula that leaves some children behind based on their parents wanting to explore an alternative educational path, Hill said.
In the continuing segment for a marijuana moment, the Cannabis.co reports on the federal budget with regard to hemp and marijuana issues. The congressional spending bill that would fund the U.S. government through September includes the continuation of provisions to protect industrial hemp and state-based medical marijuana programs. The $1 trillion omnibus bill, likely headed for a vote this week, includes an amendment previously known as Rohrabacher-Farr that prevents the Justice Department from using funds to hinder the implementation of medical marijuana laws in U.S. states and territories. The Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2017 also includes provisions that restrict the Drug Enforcement Administration and Department of Justice from using federal funds to prohibit the transportation, processing, and sale of industrial hemp as outlined in the 2014 Farm Bill. The extension of the provisions was applauded by Representative Earl Blumenauer, Democrat from Oregon, who has supported the medical marijuana amendment alongside Representative Dana Rohrabacher, Republican from California. Medical marijuana patients and the businesses that support them now have a measure of certainty, Blumenauer said in a statement, but this annual challenge must end. We need permanent protections for state legal medical marijuana programs as well as adult use. If approved, the spending bill would provide funding through September, the end of the government's fiscal year. Lawmakers have started to mobilize to include a comparable provision, now called Rohrabacher-Blumenauer, for medical marijuana states in the 2018 fiscal year spending bill. A similar amendment protecting state-based recreational marijuana laws was previously sponsored by Representative Jared Polis, a Democrat from Colorado. He recently told the Cannabist he will back the inclusion of the so-called McClintock-Polis Amendment in the coming fiscal year's spending bill.
Reported by the Durango Herald, the U.S. government's latest report card on food poisoning suggests that a germ commonly linked to raw milk and poultry is surpassing Salmonella at the top of the culprit list. The report counts cases in only 10 states for 9 of the most common cases of foodborne illness, but is believed to be a good indicator of national food poisoning trends. Highlights from Thursday's report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention: the most common bug last year was Campylobacter. It's mostly a problem in pasteurized dairy products, but also is seen in contaminated chicken, water, and produce. Salmonella was number 1 for the last 20 years, but last year moved down to number 2. Other causes like Listeria, Shigella, and E. coli trail behind. Is food poisoning getting worse? Actually, no. Last year, there were no significant changes in new case rates for most kinds of food poisoning compared to the previous 3 years. The new report tallied about 24,000 illnesses and 98 deaths in the 10 states. The CDC estimates that 1 in 6 Americans get sick from contaminated food each year, though most cases are not reported. There's been a continued decline in illnesses from what used to be the most common strain of Salmonella, called Salmonella typhimurium. That's possibly because of vaccinations of chicken flocks and tighter regulations. And now here's our weather report.
One minor change in the week's forecast from our broadcast area since yesterday. That will occur tonight. The last wave of that system passing through to our north is putting up a little extra fight, and wind speeds for this afternoon have been revised upward to 5 to 15 miles per hour and 15 to 20 for tonight, with gusts as high as 30 tonight. For the area north of Vail Pass today, 1 to 3 inches of snow at elevations 9,000 and above are expected as that system passes. Some small hail may also fall in northern areas this afternoon. And tomorrow afternoon, those areas will see winds pick up with gusts in the range of 25 to 35 miles an hour. For our broadcast area, the rest of the details are the same as yesterday. That high pressure ridge will rule into Friday, which will still be 10 to 15 degrees above seasonal normals. For next week, the impressive low in the Pacific has become unsure where it wants to go, so we may see a dry slot pass over our southwest. So, as per my personal expectations, yesterday's optimistic moisture outlook for the area from that low is yet another example of a full week being too far out to even guess. Maybe by tomorrow we'll hazard another guess. Tune in and see. The front just moved off the east coast will move or continue to cause showers and thunderstorms over portions of New England today, but those will move offshore tonight. The Great Lakes will see scattered showers today. The system leaving the northern Rockies today and entering the central and southern plains later today will move eastward to the lower Mississippi Valley and the Ohio Valley by Wednesday evening. That system will bring heavy rainfalls to an already soaked area, so flash flooding in the area you see in the red circle there just should be there. That's yesterday's image, after all. Anyway, in the center of the nation, bordering Kansas and Utah, there's an area of severe flash flooding warning today. And severe thunderstorms are also possible on Wednesday across the western and central Gulf Coast. The Pac Northwest will have possibility of rain today that should end tomorrow. A large area of the northwest and intermountain areas will see temperatures surpassing 20 degrees above normal. Mid-60s today and tomorrow, climbing to the mid-70s Saturday. Then a slight drop Sunday in anticipation of some kind of an influence to do that impressive but wandering Pacific front. That will begin to affect something somewhere somehow next week, we're sure. Lows will begin in the upper 30s and migrate to the mid-40s. Winds up some today at 10 to 20 tonight. Tonight there will be gusts at near 30. Wednesday, better, and Thursday, better still with regards to wind improvements. All the way through Saturday, it will be as good as it ever gets, is the prognostication. Now back to the news.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, Mancos High School seniors Hannah Skinner and Axel Bond will get full scholarships through the Daniels Foundation as they enter the next stage of their lives this fall. Bond is headed to Fort Lewis College, where he plans to play football and major in exercise science. Skinner will attend the University of Wyoming to study psychology and wilderness therapy. Bond said earning the scholarship felt great. It feels like winning the lottery, he said. After college, he plans on joining the police academy and pursuing a law enforcement career, he said. The Daniels Fund selected 240 students as Daniels Scholars, 56 from Colorado, 30 from New Mexico, 21 from Utah, and 33 from Wyoming, according to a press release from the group. About 2,000 students applied for the scholarship program. The award covers college expenses for students after all other scholarships and financial aid have been applied. Both Mancos students were on spring break when they got the news about their scholarships earlier this year. Bond was on a river trip and Skinner was in Costa Rica.
Some thoughts on the second hottest March on record, or was it the first? Well, that depends on how you look at it. According to National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration, 2016 March was helped by an El Nino. 2017 was not. And so, since March of 2017 actually tied with March of 2016 without the help of an El Nino, it seems only fair to say 2017 March is the hottest on record. Kind of like a world-class athlete using drugs being tied by someone who did not. So who is the winner? We had a map that we looked at this morning online, and very few places, including parts of Canada, Alaska, and India, saw cooler conditions on average. The rest of the world saw warmer. NOAA said the combined global average temperature over the land and ocean surfaces for March 2017 was 1.05 degrees centigrade above the 20th century average of 12.7 degrees centigrade. So that would have made it a little over 13. March 2017 marks the first time since April 2016 that the global land and ocean temperature departure from average was greater than 1 degree centigrade, and the first time the monthly temperature departure from average surpasses 1 in the absence of an El Nino episode in the tropical Pacific. Some skeptics have tried to suggest El Nino was responsible for more of the warming in recent months than the level attributed to it by expert bodies like NOAA. But Zeke Hausfather, a climatologist at University of California, Berkeley, told the Associated Press, if El Nino were the main driver of record warmth, there's no way the last 3 months that we've seen would have been as warm as they have been. Yes, indeed, the debate of the last 40 years continues to want to reinvent the wheel. Warming is real, and regardless of how much is human caused or how human related or how much is not, all causes need to be carefully studied or we'll never be able to fix any of them. Because we can only run so fast, and it seems that outrunning the Earth itself is a bit difficult, doesn't it? It's a race that must be won by both humans and the Earth. Both will be losers otherwise.
Reported by the Durango Herald, when it comes to music and visual arts, American teenagers could use some help. The National Center for Education Statistics reported Tuesday that in 2016, American 8th graders scored an average of 147 in music and 149 in visual arts on a scale of 300. Some 8,800 8th graders from public and private schools across the country took part in the test, which was part of the National Assessment of Educational Progress, often called the nation's report card. Acting Commissioner Peggy Carr said the test shows students have a lot to learn in art and music, and that no progress has been made since the same test was administered in 2008. When I saw the results, clearly there is room for improvement because clearly there is a lot of content that students weren't able to interact with correctly, Carr told the Associated Press. When asked to listen to George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, only about half of the students were able to identify that the opening solo is played on a clarinet. Students who scored 182 were able to label all the 8 notes in C major. Students who got 150 were able to label one note. While most students could point to one or two structural differences between two mother and child portraits, they usually struggled to explain the technical approach and meaning in an artist's self-portrait. The average student does not know a lot of the content that was asked of them on this assessment, said Carr. It was a difficult assessment, a challenging assessment. On the bright side, the achievement gap has narrowed between white and Hispanic students from a difference of 32 to 23 points in an average score in music, and from 26 to 19 points in arts since the previous test.
Continuing with arts information, the Cortez Journal reported on the Mancos Creative District, as they have hired several new staff members and have plans for a major project over the next few months. Sarah Syverson is the new director for the group, and Carol Mahesi will be the associate director, board president Raina Wilson said. TJ Zark will be the marketing director for the organization. Syverson said she's excited to join the group and see economic vitality in downtown Mancos grow. One of the first projects the Creative District plans is the Mancos Makers Space. Alpaca Rafts has donated some space at the company's new downtown Mancos location, which formerly housed the Mancos hardware store. There are several outbuildings on Alpaca's property, and the Creative District plans to turn one or more of the buildings into an indoor-outdoor space for creative people. The space might be available for woodworking, welding, or theater projects. The first event the Creative District is planning is the first Grand Summer Night of the year on June 3rd. The event will coincide with several gallery openings downtown, including Kilgore American Indian Art and the Verrill Goodnight Gallery. The event will coincide with the grand reopening of the Mancos Brewery Company in its new, larger location northeast of town. Wilson said she's excited for the new direction for the arts organization.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of April 24th through the 30th. While on routine patrol, a deputy made contact with a hitchhiker. The pedestrian was given a courtesy ride to the state line. Many town residents experienced a power outage in town due to an incident that occurred while Empire Electric was working on a project. Power was restored without too much delay. A report of a suspicious vehicle was made on the road to the pumps. A deputy made contact and the driver agreed to move along. That's it for today's roundup. Stay tuned for continuing updates.
For today's High Canyon Country happenings, Turtle Lake Refuge will host the Dandelion Festival 1 to 9 p.m. on May 6th at Rotary Park in Durango. Music, vendors, local food, activities for kids, a maypole dance, beer garden, thrift store, and a healing dome will all be featured. The event is free and open to all and will celebrate spring, honeybees, and organic parks in Durango. Additional activities related to the festival will include a plant hike at 10 a.m. May 5th at Brookside Park, Wild Wisdom of Weeds, a slideshow event at 7 p.m. May 5th at Durango Public Library, 1900 East 3rd Avenue, a bike ride at 10 a.m. May 7th from Turtle Cafe at 848 East 3rd Avenue to Organic Parks, and food forest tree planting at 1 p.m. May 7th at Turtle Cafe, 848 East 3rd Avenue. For more information, visit turtlelakerefuge.org. There will be a Dove Creek Center blood drive Tuesday, May 2nd, 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. That's today at the Community Center. To schedule an appointment, contact United Blood Services 877-UBS-HERO or go online to bloodhero.com and sponsor code Dove Creek. Coming up May 6th from 3 to 7 p.m. is the Mancos Bloom Grange fundraiser with local food, a barbecue dinner, cash bar, live music, maypole, and craft tent. Yard games include horseshoe and beanbag tournament. Entry at 3 p.m. Cake and pie eating contest as well. Email 5hearts@q.com for entry and details. All of the happenings are posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the embedded YouTube replays, weather and original stories, and local posts. To share your event or information, contact us at dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station. It's 677-4119, and we'll be sure to get your news on air.
Thanks for tuning in. This program airs live at noon Monday through Wednesday, then it is rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m. and again re-aired Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the same order at noon, 3, and 6.
We're also featuring a live call-in show called Talk Tuesday, aired live Tuesday evenings at 5:30 and rebroadcast throughout the week at 5:30 p.m. There won't be a show tonight, however. Be sure to check out our Facebook page. It has all the links and details with original stories and the video replays. Please like us there and share the link.
For Kendra Cook, Jerry Tope, and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.